Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Gonzalez, Orlando Gonzalez. I am the owner of LifeMod, and we want to welcome you to our LifeMod podcast today, which is live. And it's actually very exciting. One of our most exciting LifeMod podcasts that we've done. As you know, LifeMod is on 24 West 57th Street. It's an anti-aging wellness program. We are revolutionizing health in America. And what better way to do that than to hook up with an award-winning chef who is here live today with us at the Porterhouse in Montvale, New Jersey. And I'm just really excited as the founder of LifeMod, to be honest with you, because we haven't really found anybody who does cooking strictly, one, food that tastes really good, and then two, food that is really kind of going with what we are in line with being healthier and eating healthier. People always assume that food that is really healthy doesn't taste good. Yep. So I'm really excited to have Chef Kenny in. I'm going to welcome him in a little bit. And I'm also excited because at the same table here at our podcast, we have the owner of the Porterhouse in Montvale, New Jersey. And I guess we'll talk about the relationship you two have in a little bit. But what you're doing really by bringing him in, Chef Kenny, is really kind of telling us that you are having awareness of people's health and how they want to eat. So
That's right.
We're very excited. Welcome, Chef Keith Kenny, award-winning from Dublin, right?
That's right, yeah. Well, I'm originally actually from Carlow.
Okay. Tell me where that's at.
The same place where Finton is. It's down the southeast. It's about...
You know each other?
Yes, we're actually from the same town.
Okay. Did you know each other there?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay.
So he's a little bit older than me, so he came over.
Okay, fantastic.
But he's eating healthy. You can see he's fresh as young. Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to get over here for a start. And I always wanted to come over and not do the touristy thing. I've already done that. I've been to Manhattan several times, which I love. I absolutely love New York. I think it's an absolutely fabulous place. The whole States, but I really wanted to come and see how people actually live here, what to eat, get into a kitchen and stand back and just watch the chefs prepare the foods, go look at the produce, and the numbers. And it is different in home. Mm-hmm. It's very different in many ways, but it's a nice experience to come and see this. Like, my style at home is completely different than the style here.
And I'm sure the food, the ingredients that you're using, are they different, or?
Well, some of them are different. I find some of the vegetables wouldn't be as flavoursome. Now I know that Finton here, which is fabulous, I think, in the Porterhouse, is something similar to what I do myself in my own restaurant at home. Is he does buy from small producers as well, so he does get.
I'm really excited to learn more about that, Finton, because that really is the key. I mean, this whole farm to table concept, and trying to get food that's fresh, and if it was alive just recently, not like months ago, definitely not frozen. And so we're very excited to hear that from Mr. Seeley here in the world.
I find, like, at home especially, people are, and it's for a while now, traceability of food is a big deal. I'd be very one-on-one with my suppliers. I suppose the difference with us at home, you can walk out of a restaurant and you've got your butcher shop and you've got your vegetable shop and you've got your seafood shop,
right,
very close to you.
Right.
You literally walk. You wouldn't even have to drive in some circumstances, which over here you don't see as much.
Right.
But I'm still getting to have a look around. But it's the whole thing about food, and it's simple. It's keeping it simple. And the one golden rule about cooking is there are no rules. It's all about getting the best from your produce.
The rules about cooking is that there are no rules.
There are no rules.
As
far as I'm concerned, there are no rules. Once you get good produce, that's the beginning of every dish, is finding your produce, making sure it's good, and then cooking it right and keeping it simple.
Now, you own your restaurant in Dublin? In
Dublin, yes.
And so, again, I guess off podcast earlier today, we were talking about how, it's definitely different than it is here. Now, for those of you who are watching us right now, usually we come live to you from our New York office in 24 West 57th, but today we're in Montvale, New Jersey. And by the way, it was a beautiful ride, albeit longer than we were told. But we actually loved driving in here, and it's really gorgeous. Today is still a cold day. We're a day before St. Patrick's, right? 2 days, right?
1 day.
No, 1 day. I'm sorry. I keep thinking, it's Monday
tomorrow.
today. Yeah. And just the drive over here was beautiful. This area of New Jersey, which by the way a lot of you might not know, it really is gorgeous. But I just imagine that, and I've been to Dublin many times, and one of my favorite cities actually to visit. That you have a completely different sort of, as you said, things come to you fresh. You just walk down the street, and you've got all these, people who are producing your produce, really, right?
But like in Ireland, like every country, you have the small suppliers, which would be, in small towns, and you'd have your traditional butcher, you'd have your traditional seafood merchant, and your traditional fruit and veg guy. In Ireland over the last couple of years, because more restaurants were coming up and it was getting busier, a lot of wholesalers came on the scene. Now, but I'm a firm believer to the old-fashioned way of buying from your local. We buy all our produce from local suppliers.
When you say local, what is that range entail?
Well, I tell you what it is. We're in Lucan, County Dublin.
Okay.
Right? Okay. One thing we thrive on is buying Irish produce. It's very important, Irish produce. We get as much local produce as possible. So a lot of our fruit and veg, we box fruit and veg, we come in the morning. Some days you wouldn't know because it's organic, okay? So it's coming in and boxed from local farms around the area. What we can't get off them, we would buy from our local veg shop. Our fish comes in fresh, once again, traceability. A lot of our fish comes from Clogherhead and Wicklow, and all off the Irish coast. And then our fish supplier, I have two great fish suppliers. One of them in Wicklow, which I actually have a cooking school. I teach people how to cook fish, and so it's I know where it's coming. I have traceability on everything, and our meats. Then I consider we have the best meats in the world. I have to be honest.
Right, and where are your meats? Their meats are also coming local.
A lot of them come from local. Once again, we have a lot of our lamb comes from Wicklow. Our pork actually comes from Carlow, Salters in Carlow. And then our beef, it's from around the country, different parts of the country, but it's all free range, it's organic, it's
grass fed.
It's grass fed. Our chickens are the free range, which means
chicken.
they're out there roaming free. They're not cooped up, born in a cage, gas pumped, and
Right, nothing farm raised in terms of like your seafood, right? It's all wild.
Seafood's all wild, yeah. Like we don't do the only thing we don't have wild because you can't get it anymore. Well, you can get it, but restaurants at home don't really sell it.
Trout.
It would be trout
probably,
or salmon.
Right.
Salmon.
But the salmon we get is organic salmon. So what that means is
what does that mean? Really,
it's farmed, and it's as close to wild salmon as you'll get. It's not fed with pellets. The lake is like as a wild salmon would be.
Okay.
It's close to wild salmon.
Now why can't you get wild again? Is it because it's the population is dwindling and it's not accessible?
Yes.
Okay, it's not as
It's
accessible.
not accessible. And well, you can. Some restaurants you can get it, but you need a special license to sell it because they were cutting down on the fishing of
The harvesting of the fish. Yeah.
Now, Chef Kenny. You're award winning. You've written. And I'm not going to get into it right now because we're going to get into on the next segment your book. You wrote the book called Cookability. For those of you, and by the way, if you want to get the book, just get in touch with us and we'll be able to connect you. And so we're going to get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But tell me just generally, because then we're going to get into the porterhouse and how you came about getting it and your concept, Mr. Seeley. But I just kind of generally want to know how you came today. Why? I mean, did you invite him? Did you?
Yeah, I mean we've known each other.
This is Vincent Seeley, by the way.
Hi. We've known each other for a number of years, and it was difficult to hook up because he's very busy, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And so our hours would be conflicting. Our times in Carlow, where we're from, would also conflict. So around the holidays we met because we were both there at the same time, and we said, we must get together. We must. He was interested in coming over to see how we operate here, and he travels a lot. several other countries just to see how they cook and what their kitchen, how it operates. So that was.
He said yes.
He jumped on it because especially around St. Patrick's Day. Obviously, he'll partake in the festivities tomorrow and through the week, and also he's introducing some of his dishes that we obviously have a great interest in, but particularly this week.
Oh my God, we're so excited to hear about that. On that note, we are going to take a little break, and then we'll be right back. Thank you all for joining us.
You're listening to the LifeMod Podcast with Dr. Gonzalez. For more information on LifeMod, go to lifemod.com.
And welcome back to the LifeMod Podcast with Dr. Gonzalez, and I have two amazing special guests today that I'm very excited to introduce to you. Of course, we have, this is our second segment, we have Chef Keith Kenny, award-winning from Dublin, Ireland. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
And we also have the owner of the Porterhouse in Montvale, New Jersey. We're actually in his restaurant today, and I will tell you, those of you who I had never been here, it is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So those are our two guests. So this segment, I think we're going to focus a little bit on your book.
Yes, absolutely, no problem.
I have to tell you, I read your book a week ago. Actually, 4 days ago when I got it from my VP of operations. I hadn't heard of it.
Okay.
Two, I wanted to kind of see what it was about. LifeMod, just so that you two have and everyone who's listening has a little background. We do have a pretty big viewership, so I think my audience knows what we do, what I do, what LifeMod is about. But I think it's important to just reintroduce as we go forward now.
Super.
LifeMod was sort of created in 2009. It stands for Lifestyle Modification. I'm going to give you a really quick rundown. Lifestyle modification, and I'm an orthopedist, but I've become very involved with anti-aging and wellness and obesity management in this country. As you know, in this country, and I know you've lived here now for a long time.
30 years, yeah.
30 years, Mr. Finton. We are not healthy in this country, but it's not even this country. It's like the world, really.
It is the world. Yeah.
It is the world. We've gotten away from one of the things that we do at LifeMod is we talk about the human design, and this is why I'm so excited that you and I met, because I think we have there's a way to really get together and collaborate as we go forward. One of the because what you're doing is what I've always wanted to find somebody doing, especially an award-winning chef. It's really amazing. What we talk about in LifeMod all the time is we bring people in and we tell you there's three things. Know thyself. You cannot get healthy healthier if you don't really know what's wrong with you. It's like you can't fix a car unless you know what's broken. Number one. And we tell you so many things at LifeMod. We take your blood, we look at what's wrong with you, and not just your cholesterol, your vitamins, and this is where you come in, your gut insensitivities, which is huge. There are so many people who are gluten insensitive in this country.
It's the same at home.
Who are celiac insensitive. And you know what? They don't know that. You know why? Because when they eat, they don't get a reaction. No. They don't need to call 911 in our country. The ambulance comes over. They don't need to do that because they don't feel that bad. However, on a daily basis, they're overweight. They feel tired. They have no energy.
It's obviously varying degrees of celiac.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that, Mr. Finn, that's exactly right.
Where's the actual point that when you start treating it?
That's right. We have so many, when you look at gluten insensitivity and celiac insensitivity, their sensitivity is type 1 through 7. So if you were type 1, 2, or 3, or 4, you're not going to get a reaction to it.
Right.
But there are so many people by the way, we're live, so those are cars running around, if you guys pick that up.
We're not at a racetrack.
Okay, good.
That's my stomach rumbling.
That's right. That's Chauncey Hayden, by the way, another award-winning character right behind here. So, but we'll be talking about how there are people who, if you want to get healthier, you really have to know your what ticks you, what does not.
Absolutely. I know from personal trainers, they tell me all the time, your training starts with your body, with what your intake is.
Absolutely. You are what you eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowing thyself. And here's the dictum that I want to talk about before I get into your book. It's so exciting. The human design. Think about this. We no longer do anything that we were designed to do. From sitting on our butts on a chair, we weren't designed to do that.
We're not out hunting.
We're not, exactly. We're not hunting.
Chasing down our food.
Running marathons. I ran a half marathon yesterday. I'm not supposed to do that. That's not human design. We weren't supposed to do that. We're supposed to sprint after our food. But if you think about it, the food that we used to eat a long, long time ago was food that you are cooking now. It's the food that you're actually cooking right now. No, and that's why I want to go back to that human design. And that's why when I heard about you, we jumped on this because we said, okay, this is a guy who is doing it. And I'll be honest with you, in the New York City area, do we know anyone who's really doing this? I mean, there's not that many people who are doing this in America, and so we're very excited. So tell us about when you wrote the book, how it came about, and what your sort of future aspirations for not only the book, but your future personal aspirations are.
Okay, well, where do I start? The book was written purely, I think, through frustration. I'd never planned or didn't set out to write a gluten and dairy-free cookbook. Okay. Also, it was pure chance that it was the only gluten and dairy-free cookbook to be in Ireland ever. But basically, my ex-wife at the time was on we were trying for children, and we went and done a thing called NAPRO. And what that is, it's based on your diet, like you were saying about it's what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And she cut out dairy and cut out gluten, and it became a nightmare because even though I own a restaurant, at that time restaurants, you were going out to hotels and you're going out to functions and dinner with friends, and as soon as you said you were gluten and dairy, you didn't want anything with gluten and dairy, it was like, oh my god, the menu's gone from 8 choices to one, boiled chicken or grilled fish,
You have two heads.
And that's it, yeah. And it was just, I found it ridiculous because I just could not understand it. In my kitchens, we cook fresh to order. We cook everything, order comes in, we cook. And that's exactly what Finton is doing here as well. And the guys in the kitchen, great team in the kitchen, may I say. Great bunch of guys in the kitchen here. And we, so I said, well, hang on, this is a joke. And this really is a joke. So I went and I was doing recipes for my wife. And then there was more friends who were also, some of them were not gluten intolerant. But because we're training, they didn't want to have any gluten intake, and it's a big thing in Ireland at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And people are getting more conscious about their health in Ireland. I will say that. So I wrote some recipes, and people liked them. And then I was talking to people, and the other biggest hurdle was people who would have a family at home, and say the husband was celiac, but they cooked a separate dinner for him, and all the rest of the guys had lasagna or something like that. You shouldn't be doing it. You don't need to do that. So, hence, I wrote some recipes. Out came a publisher approached me and said, "That's amazing. Would you publish your book?" Blackwater Press, John O'Connor. So I said, "Sure, why not?" So we published the book. The book became very, very popular in Ireland. And in my restaurant now, I do have a thing that I don't believe in putting G's and D's on menus. I think that the customer comes in, shouldn't be pigeonholed. I think the customer with a dietary requirement should be treated like everybody else, will adapt whatever dish you pick to make suit you.
Wow.
And I think that's the big one.
You don't hear that often. I mean, that's amazing.
No, you don't.
Right? That's amazing.
No, it is. You don't see that at all in the industry. We're very conscious of that also, and our chef Chris Dunn here, he will adapt, and he's very amenable to certain dietary requirements, or even just people who don't like a certain item. We'll change it because that's what he does. He's a chef, and that's the way it should be. And it's great to hear that Chef Kenny doing the same thing in Ireland.
Well, it's great that you've had that consciousness, and that you've employed a chef who's doing that.
Well, I actually he was always that way. I've had different chefs over the years that wouldn't be as amenable to changing their menu items.
Right.
They say, well, this is my creation, I don't want to change it. And they're a little bit intransigent about that kind of thing. But Chef Dunn is great like that. He's very open to change it if somebody requires it.
And in doing that, not only have you become more popular, right? Obviously, and
right.
That's why we're gonna be promoting you obviously as well as one of our LifeMod approved restaurants that we have, but. Because that's the consciousness. People are becoming more and more aware. But I know, Chef, you were saying that people were as a chef, when people approach you and say, "I want to cook this way" or a little variation, most chefs are like, "Absolutely not." Right?
It can't be done. And if something is in, I have to say, from when the first time when I got into this gluten-free and dairy-free cooking, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and there was very little stuff on the shelves for gluten dairy-free. It was like a small section. Now it's 2-3 aisles long, so that'll show. And I was in Spain recently as well, and it's huge, and Italy. So obviously, there's more and more people going down that way.
And you know what you're doing. I hate to cut in here. I'm saying what you two are doing is really, without knowing, maybe you know, but you're really changing healthcare. You're really changing health. Oh, you know what? Can I get the book here? I just want to show it on camera. Please show it. That's awesome.
Such a ham.
It's Cookability by me, Keith Kenny.
We're having so much fun with Chef Keith Kenny here today at the Porterhouse in Montvale. The book is called Cookability, and here it is for those of you. If you're listening to an audio file of this, you can look and download the actual the audio visual podcast. You can actually see how good looking all three of us are.
And I think it's available on.
We're just looking at the book, Doctor.
Okay, and really, but how the book.
I think it's
looks.
available on Amazon soon, isn't it?
It's coming to Amazon. But what we are going to do, and what I'm excited about, and with Fintan is help, we are hopefully going to get some books over to Fintan for.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so excited. We're gonna end this broadcast right now, and then we're gonna come right back.
You'll listen to the Life Mod Podcast with Dr. Gonzalez. You can follow us on Twitter at LifeModNYC, and we're also on Facebook, facebook.com/LifeMod.
Okay, and welcome back to the Life Mod Podcast with Dr. Gonzalez, and I have this is our third segment we're doing right now. I have two amazing guests. I told you that since we've been doing this show, it's actually a brand new show, but we've had a lot of segments. We've never done a segment that's this exciting. We are out of our element. We're not in New York City anymore. We're not in Kansas, Dorothy, or what is it? What's that?
Suburbia.
That's right.
I am total.
No, we're not in New York. We are in Montvale, New Jersey, at the Porterhouse, and I'm joined by the owner of Porterhouse, Mr. Fintan Seeley, who I've fallen in love with. He's awesome. And we also have the award-winning chef from Dublin, Ireland, Chef Keith Kenny. And we're so excited to be sort of bringing your book into light, because I think it's a great book.
But look, I'll be honest with you. Like as I said, the book was. It just happened.
Yeah, but the most amazing things in the world just happened. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Then I'm lucky enough to know Fintan from Carlo for many years, and to come over and to be, as I said in the beginning, to be allowed into somebody's kitchen to see what it's really like to live, work, and see what people are eating over here. It's fantastic for me. The book I brought over some copies over here. It's actually not on the shelves over here. You can get it on Amazon. I also have a massive, if you don't mind me saying, a massive Facebook following. So if you follow me on, it's Keith Kenny, Chef Keith, or just
of
Keith
course,
Kenny.
please, Keith Kenny.
You won't miss me. It's
okay.
one of the big flames and blue eyes. But it's a bit of fun. But I've been given a golden opportunity by Kelly and by Fintan. I think it's mind blowing. It's amazing. It's just such a different holiday.
Yeah.
And it is a holiday. Like I'm on holidays.
Yep.
And to do some cooking demos and to shoot, because I'm so passionate about food, I'm so passionate about produce, and to get an inch of that passion to one person, for me that's a goal.
Wow.
So I keep everything simple. No, I teach kids in schools how to cook.
Right.
My restaurant won actually 3 years in a row best kids size me menu in Dublin.
Wow.
What that means is we give all our kids food is portion sized properly, and it's all organic, it's all free range, and we don't do the frozen fries and the burgers from the freezer. Everything is organic and free range, and that's what we want.
That's fantastic.
There's a huge push now for that in every country to get the kids started.
And that's a great segue, because you just heard the owner of the Porterhouse here in Montvale, New Jersey, Mr. Fintan Seeley. So now I'm going to introduce you. I want you to tell me about your restaurant and why. I mean, I'm so excited because one is beautiful, but what you're doing here that's amazingly different.
Well, we opened 17 years ago, almost 17 years ago, and it was almost exclusively steakhouse due to the fact that we're very close to a corporate area, and a lot of corporate entertainment is done in a steakhouse. I think it's something like 40% of entertainment. So it is big. So that was the reason I chose that theme for the restaurant. Over the last few years, we've started to morph into something a little bit different. We're putting more of an emphasis on our fish dishes and various other dishes to try and still cater to the steakhouse theme, but to offer people something different. I'm very much into sustainability and farm to table, and there's a lot of buzzwords like the organic, the farm to fork, farm to table, and people are very conscious now of where they're eating and what they're eating, or they've become more conscious. So naturally, fish is probably the most, the freshest or the best type of food you can get.
Right.
Obviously, we can't interfere with it. Some fish are farmed, like trout and salmon, but all the rest of the wild fish, obviously, they have to be good because they grow up in the wild. Also, with our beef, we try and get as much grass fed as we can. Where I come from in Ireland, same place as Chef Kenny, we would have always eaten fresh eggs. Like we'd have gotten them from next door neighbour. Our butcher would have his own beef.
Chickens, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it was all, it would be farm raised, as in free range. The beef would all be grass fed. And in Ireland, there's a huge emphasis on no hormones, no steroids.
That's a big one.
So people think of Irish food like the Irish breakfast, which is a very protein-heavy breakfast, and it's big, but it's supposed to last you all day. But even though there's a lot, and it's fried and stuff like that, all that years ago, not so much anymore, but years ago would have been straight from the farm. So it wouldn't have had any hormones or steroids or preservatives.
Right.
So it was unhealthy in one way, but it was very healthy in another.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think people are trying to get back to that. Now, it's very difficult to do that in New York because there's so many people to eat, so many people looking to get that farm to table food. So I work with a lot of our local farmers. My next door neighbour is Scott Conklin, just 10 miles up the road here. He has a 100-acre farm. So what we can't get from him, because he specialises in orchard, apples, peaches, and all that kind of stuff. But what we can't get from him, he is at all the markets and he knows all the other farmers. So if there's something particular I want, I'll call Scott.
Wow, and that comes in almost on a daily basis.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's what we can do. Now.
Can I ask you something? I'm because I really want you to talk. How did the porterhouse get involved with? I mean, what was it that you were like? Okay, I have to do this. Was it because people were asking for that, or were you just avant-garde in that area? You know what? I don't know how, by osmosis maybe, and a lot of people asking for it, but I'm very much into sustainability. I have like a 10 kilowatt solar panel. I run one of my trucks on used vegetable oil. I hate to see waste really kills me, and I hate seeing like a lot of hard woods being used when because obviously it takes so long for these trees to grow, and it's not sustainable. We can't use it to the extent we are using it. All the restaurant here, for instance, all the paneling here came from a priest's house from the 1840s, and it's being used again. Downstairs, I brought 3 containers of old wood and stone and all the artifacts. They're all recycled, and it goes back 700 years. So, oh my God! So yeah, well, your rock outside is also shipped. I heard. Well, yeah, the stone, not outside, the inside stone and the brick and the stone floor and everything you see downstairs has been recycled, salvaged. So. Wow. I guess that's the interest I've always had. So getting into the sustainability, it's kind of the same way of thinking, We eat too much, as everybody knows. The whole Western world, it's not just the States anymore. Ireland has become very westernized in that aspect, and there's a lot of diabetes coming from there. And people are now becoming more conscious of what they're eating. Gluten-free is a huge buzzword now, as we all know. Only 1% of Americans are diagnosed as having celiac disease. However, like we said earlier, there's varying degrees of it. Absolutely. And at what point do we decide, you have it? Is it, how badly
affected do we have to be before we decide, okay, I'm celiac?
Right.
And that's the issue. So people, before they even get diagnosed as celiac, they're trying to eliminate as much as they can within reason. Now, the FDA just passed rules that in order to be gluten-free, you cannot have any more than 20 parts in a million. And that's very stringent. So, but that has to be for packaging and so on like that, right? So now, for a restaurant to say we're gluten-free is very difficult because there's cross-contamination. Even like you take a pizza place, the flour that they roll it out on, if they don't use exactly, if they don't use rice flour, they're already, and it's contaminated, and it could be more than 20 parts in a million. So some places that have gluten-free, an absolute stringent regimen of how they do it. So I think it's easier to say gluten-friendly, so that you're not held to that high standard, but you're still eliminating 99.9% of it. And you could eliminate 99.9% and still be outside the guidelines the FDA have introduced. So we have gluten-free cocktails.
Tell me about that. I'm very excited about that. Actually.
Yeah. It's interesting. People have warmed to it very much. Our head bartender, we've two fantastic bartenders, our mainstay, Danielle and Will. And Will does most of our ordering, but he's a sommelier. So he's very much into his wines, his bourbons, his whiskies, and now gluten-free cocktails because of the demand. So we have 6 of our main cocktails that we offer that are on our menu all the time. We use Tito's vodka, which is gluten-free, and all the components that will go in it are gluten-free. So that's that's.
This is so exciting. As you know, with LifeMod, we have dinner with the doc once a month, and we go to different restaurants mostly in New York City area, Jersey City, and Hoboken, New Jersey, and we look at restaurants that are doing this kind of food, and we promote. We have a little gathering. We're going to have one here for sure. But we started this thing called Drinks with the Doc, and this gluten. Have we heard of anybody doing this anywhere?
No, not at all.
I mean, I don't know if they even.
I think you will find it in some places around the city.
Yeah, we haven't really found anybody to do that, and so we're very excited. I think that's fantastic what you're doing here, and I think that this is a great marriage. I think that you bringing Chef Keith Kenny here was just fantastic, and it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been great, and he's done a couple of demonstrations, and they're a lot of fun.
Right.
We're doing a couple more on Thursday. We do a Taste of Ireland, so he's going to be basically doing a lot of traditional Irish dishes, and we do another gluten-free demonstration on Saturday, and I think Sunday then is St. Patrick's Day from Pearl River, so that's going to be a very busy day, and Chef Kenny's going to be doing his thing. So it's been a lot of fun.
I'll have some nice specials, 1 or 2 specials working with Chris Dunn here in the kitchen and his fabulous team downstairs. So, they've kindly let me put on a special too some evenings, which I really enjoy doing. I'll show off a little bit of cooking for you later, but you'll see what I do. It's simple food, but it's done right.
We're so excited. Just to plug really quickly, we have the porterhouseusa.com. You have to come down here.
Yeah, that's right. porterhouseusa.com. Also, coming soon, I'm working with Board Bia from Ireland in getting grass-fed beef out from Ireland. The ban has been lifted after 16 years to import beef from Ireland, and it's all grass-fed. It's really tasty, and like I said, there's no hormones, no steroids. We're one thing about our beef, it's the best in the world. All our beef and produce. Yeah,
that's fantastic. One more thing, I do want to plug in the book. Put a plug in Cookability. Are we zooming in, Chauncey?
Yeah.
Cookability. And how do we get a hold of you, Chef?
Get a hold of me on Facebook. It's probably the best place to get a hold of me. It's Keith Kenny.
Is this Facebook?
Facebook.
Yeah,
because I'm social media. I'm big on social media. So yeah, Keith Kenny.
He's a ham, basically.
So and also I'll be linking in with the Porterhouse Facebook page as well, and I'll be keeping in touch with them. And once again, the book will hopefully have some copies shortly in the Porterhouse. You never know, someone out there might like it on the shelves.
If anybody's around this week, he's here all week. He'll be here as guest chef, and a lot of festivities for St. Patrick's Week here. And we won't have green beer, but we'll have everything else. And you can come down and buy a book from Chef Kenny and have a chat.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining the Life Mod podcast with Dr. Gonzalez. We're so happy that you joined us. For those of you, obviously, who know LifeMod, lifemod.com, and that's how you can get a hold of us. If you want any information on these two amazing cats, go to lifemod.com, and we'll be able to hook you up through that way if you didn't pick up what we just said. Thank you very much.